I wasn't there. Terminal there. I was young then. And after this match, we sleep when we want to. And go out. Time is exit. I can start Ram with Swami. Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om 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 Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram
Jai Jai Rama Om.
Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama Om.
Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama Om.
Ram Jai Ram, Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama Om.
Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Today we are in the fourth chapter. Yesterday, the adoption of sannyas. I had elaborately given his approach towards sannyas. When he keeps on telling that there is no need for others to follow in the same manner for spiritual progress, the question still remains: why did he choose? Is it absolutely necessary to give a family life as an essential prerequisite for God realization? If not, why then did Ramdas give up his own family life? This is a test question. To tell you the truth, when God wanted Ramdas to leave his family, the old family you may call it, and go away on a wandering life, he did not know why he was going. He went because God led him away from the place. He had no idea as to what was in store for him. If it was for sadhana, why should he go elsewhere? He could have practiced it sitting at home. Still, God wanted him to go. Ramdas did not ask him why he was being taken away, but he himself whispered in Ramdas's ears, Ramdas, I am taking you from place to place, not because you have to renounce everything, but because you have to see that everything is my fault. You have to go to householders and tell them that they need not renounce worldly life in order to realize me. Matt.
Math is already
Hari Om. This is a very important. Normally, this question is raised by a Ananda. Many a times, it has been asked by many people whether this is a prerequisite. And if it is not a prerequisite, why did Papa opt for it? As a simple, innocent child, he says, he did not know why. And intuitively he gets this answer. Ramdas, I am taking you from place to place, not because you have to renounce everything, but because you have to see that everything is my form. You have to go to householders and tell them that they need not renounce worldly life in order to realize me. It was with this object that he made them to leave the old. Lord Krishna's teaching is for householders to realize me, I have established the Bhagavata Dharma. By following this, they can be quite happy and peaceful by constant remembrance of me in their own houses, ultimately reach the goal. It is not necessary for them to renounce the world. When a man goes to a forest, he sits in a cave and often instead of thinking of God, thinks of the world. What is the good of such renunciation? Real Tyaga means only when the mind is completely absorbed in God. It is no Tyaga if there is no remembrance of God. Remembrance of God must lead to detachment from worldly life. Darkness cannot be driven away merely by threatening it with a sword. It can be removed only by bringing in a light. Only by bringing in God thought can the darkness of ignorance and consequent attachment to the world disappear. So, internal Tyaga is what is really important. You may live and move in the world and still be detached internally. There is a saying of Emerson: the great man is he who enjoys the sweetness of solitude in the midst of the crowd. Do you know who brought Ramdas back to Mangalore after his 1 year's wandering life? It was his wife of his whole life. When Ramdas was in the Siddharut Mutt, she happened to know of it, came there, wanted to take him back. But she hesitated to ask him personally. The change in Ramdas's life was so great that he could not now recognize anybody as his old relation or friend. So she went to Siddhartha Swami and pleaded that he might ask Ramdas to go along with her. Siddhartha Swami accordingly called Ramdas and said to him, "You go with this mother." Ramdas said, "All right." And the mother took him to Mangalore. Ramdas then told her, "You have got one child already, now you have another." She had a daughter, and Ramdas became a son to her. Actually, she looked after Ramdas like a child. Ramdas was simply running about playing with the other child all the time. Afterwards, Ramdas went to several places. An ashram was constructed in Kasaragod. The mother wanted to stay in the ashram and did so for some time. If she were alive now, she would have been certainly staying in the present ashram too. So Ramdas never hated the world. He wanted only to learn the true secret of living in the world. In the old life, he had likes and dislikes. And God said to him, "I will teach you the secret of detachment and loving all alike." The Lord seated in the heart taught Ramdas this lesson by making him repeat. He made Ramdas love everybody by seeing God in all. He is asking Ramdas to tell you, householders, that you need not renounce the world, that you can attain God by living in this world. With this object, Ramdas is now moving from place to place. Some, no doubt, go to the forest impelled by an inner urge when the call comes. That is because God wants to make them his special instruments for the service of humanity. If you come to the ashram, you will see a big household. There are many adults, children, cows, calves, lands, fields, cottages. How can you say that Ramdas has renounced the world? In fact, how can you renounce the world which is nothing but God Himself? Then whom will you give up? You have to attain this universal vision and accept everything, not merely a part, but the whole humanity as the very manifestation of God. True renunciation is renounce the ego sense, which makes you see diversities and subjects you to the sway of dandvas, likes and dislikes, good and evil, pleasure and pain. You must transcend all these pairs of opposites. Disease is within, not without. Remove it by praying to God for His grace, make you remember Him constantly. When the internal melody is cured, that is, when the ego sense is eradicated, you will behold Him everywhere. So this is how he looks at it. It is not renunciation as normally we are understand. It is not sannyas as we normally understand. So that is why in a moment he could divest him of the Geruva cross. It had its own relevance for a period, particular time, and afterwards, when he has transcended it, he did not feel the need for it. So here, nothing is conventional. Everything he was relying on. He says, God wanted him to put him on a test under his direct guidance and support. So this is something unique. We can only imagine in our mind. We cannot go near this concept at all. Every moment to become aware. He has also revealed in one of his letters what is intuition. He says, intuition is the working of the inner being of a man, inner being capital. When he has tuned his life with the universal and all transcendent existence. When intuition really works, the egoistic sense of man is completely absent. The experience of such a man is of consciousness which is above the body idea. To rise above the notion of the body does not mean the stock stillness of the physical members, but the performance of all their actions take a perfect self-effacement and therefore spontaneity. Intuition does not work always in consonance with the views and opinions swayed by the criticisms and oppositions of the world. The external form of work, which the intuition takes directly, flows out from the omnipotent power that causes birth, growth, dissolution of all phenomena in life. If one could at all distinguish the works of the intuition from those emanating from an individualistic sense, it is possible only through their results. We will not be able to know. That means there cannot be any norm, there cannot be any written rule. It is only from the result we can understand whether it was from my individual thinking or it was from the origin of myself. If it is coming from the origin of myself, that is called intuition. The other one is called thought. While the former being of a selfless nature tends inevitably to benefit and delight others, the latter being born of a personal ambition for personal gratification causes loss and misery. So that is the litmus test, whether it is free from vested interest. Number one, it is spontaneous. It is not a product of a thought. Intellect has no business there. And it will be devoid of any self-interest. Something we have to take note. This is how the intuition works. So intuition is the product of complete self-surrender, and its work is in its inherent nature beneficial to all. We hear of saints and sages receiving unspoken messages from the great masters of the universe as to the conduct of their lives. Their intimacy and communion with the great guide is so perfect that they carry out works in the world without favor or prejudice, without caring for praise or blame, but only in fulfillment of their life's mission, as said by the divine guide. In the field of spirituality, intuition is spoken of as the inner voice. When the soul has fallen under the spell of the immortal voice, he realizes his ever free and blissful existence. Thereafter, the individual lives and moves in the consciousness of God. In all states, he now feels he is utterly liberated and inexplicably happy. So, in this chapter, from this chapter, it is becoming clearer and clearer. Previously, it was purely because of intuition only Papa was taking every action. But it was not known to us. But from this chapter onward, because from this chapter onward, the real itinerant life starts. We will find how he is free from planning, how he is moment to moment. He is not anxious, he is not tensed up, he is not upset,
Not stressed.
he is not stressful at all. He finds, at every point, he is at ease. That is because, not because, of anything else, because his reliance on God has become total. A state which none of us can imagine. We can only read, that's all. Because the sense of individuality, which is now reading and hearing, will not be there at all, no. So how can it conceive a state where it is not there? We can only read. Just like yesterday we said, only for certain answers, so certain question, it can be intellectually answered. Certain queries, questions, only reflection can answer. Silence can answer. So these are something, only silence can answer. We can only simply say God was guiding you. We don't mean anything like that. Unless and until we dive deep, and that is what Papa probably aims at. When we keep on reading it, we will slowly be motivated to go deep down within ourselves. Otherwise, it will be only a repetition of words of Papa. So when the soul has fallen under the spell of the immortal voice, he realizes his ever free, blissful experience. Thereafter, the individual lives and moves in the consciousness of God. In all states, he now feels he is utterly liberated, inexplicably. So now we will read the fourth chapter, and we will see what are the points. So he had gone to the Kaveri Mata, divested him of the white clothes, prayed, and then self-initiation in the form of accepting the Giruva cloths and in the form of assertion and in the form of 3 vows. Purely unconventional. Normally, a Viraja Homa or something like that is performed on the previous night. He will be given a clean shave, and on the banks of the holy river, the Guru asks him to go to the river, asks him to remove everything, Then after a dip comes, Guru gives him the dress, Guru gives him the name, Guru gives him the mantra, and also gives him certain how many days he has to be on various on diet, on silence, and so on. But here it is self-initiated. He himself divests himself of the white clothes. He puts on the Gerua cloth. He sends out a prayer from the bottom of the heart. O Ram, O love infinite, protector of all the worlds, it is by thy wish, it is by thy wish alone that thy humble slave has been induced to adopt sannyas. Thy name, in thy name alone, O Ram, he has given us samsara, cut us under all bonds, all ties. O Ram, bless thy poor devotee by thy grace. May Ramdas be endued with strength, courage, and faith to carry out thy name. Ram, the following vows, and bear all trials and all kinds of privation that may beset the path of a sannyasi in his passage through the rough and perilous life of a mendicant. Number one, his life be henceforth entirely consecrated to meditation and service of Sri. Not merely meditation, not merely service. Inwardly feeling his presence through meditation. Outwardly feeling his presence by service. Celebrity will be observed looking upon all women as mothers. The body be maintained and fed upon the food procured by Viksha or on what was offered as alms. So then, after that, the thrills of a new birth, a new life, with the sweet love of Ram was felt. A peace came upon Ramdas' struggling soul. The turmoil ceased. Ram's own hand seemed to have touched the head of his slave. Ram blushed. Oh, tears flow on for the mere joy of a deliverance. Sorrow, pain, anxiety, care, all vanished, never to return. All glory to thee, Ram. The great blessing came from Ram. Again, that intuition. No? I take thee under my guidance and protection. Remain ever my devotee. Thy name shall be Ramdas. In this chapter, in this para also, Papa is slowly motivating us to move in this direction of first establishing a communion with Him, where we, like anybody else, we talk to Him. We place all our views before Him. Even we take Him into task. So this communion, first we develop. When we start communing with Him on a regular basis, internally, the first tangible gain is that we feel the nearness. Because it is not coming from outside. So when he says, O Ram, or when he hears, O Ramdas, it is all internal, you know. So this internal communion system, ICS, this has to be practiced and built up by us, according to Then only the joy he felt can, at least we can go near him, During our off hours or pause moments, is, as it were, this is how we take it. It seems he is suggesting to us, if you want to have a fraction of this joy, at least, you must develop communion with him. So that every time, whenever there is a need for guidance, he gives and gives you. So the guide is with us, the guide is guiding us, the guide is leading us. So the nearness is felt. That bhavana will, let us see, the thrills of a new birth, a new life, with the sweet love of Ram was felt. A peace came upon Ramdas' struggling soul. The turmoil ceased. Ram's own hands seemed to have touched the head of his slave. Ram blessed. Oh, tears flow on for the mere joy of deliverance. Sorrow, pain, anxiety, care, all vanished, never to return. All glory to thee, Ram. And this is this trap, one-way trap. Then he also says, the great blessing came from Ram. I take thee under my guidance and protection. Remain ever my devotee. Thy name shall be Ramdas. We all want to hear these words from him. I take thee under my guidance and protection. Remain ever my devotee. Prior to taking up in question of God, we were going through the 8th chapter, There he said, what are the qualifications to become his dearest devotee? We were remembering the words of Swami Ranganathanji. He said, God should say that we are his devotee. No use of our tom-tomming that I am his devotee. Here we find Ram telling Ram, Papa, you are my devotee. Remain ever my devotee. And then he gives the name Ram. So from Vittal Rao to transition of an individual to a broader level. From the individual level to a wider level. What he teaches. Yes, Ramdas, what a grand privilege it is to become the Das of Ram, who is all love, who is all kindness, all mercy, all forgiveness. Now he came up to a Dharamshala, close to the river, and found some sadhus sitting on the floor of the passage leading out to the main road. They were busy performing Ram Bhajan with the accompaniment of cymbals and ekta. They were singing the glorious name of Ram. Ramdas also squatted beside the two young sannyasis and placed his lota, procured a trustee, in front of him to receive viksha from the pilgrims who passed that way after their bath. The bhajan of the two young devotees were really sweet. Time passed most pleasantly. It was about 12 noon that the bhajan came to a close. Looking upon the cloth spread in front of them, young sadhus observed only 3/4 anna lying on it, all they had got for the whole day. On those days, everybody knows 16 annas make 1 rupee, and 12 pies make 1 anna. One anna is 1/16 of a rupee. With a disappointed look, one of them remarked, "Since morning we have been singing the glory of God, and He has given us only this much. Hunger is pinching the stomach. How are we to procure food, O God? Is thy bhajan from morning till now worth only 9 pies? 1 pie is 1/12 of an hour." The question was at once answered by Ramdas. It was in the year 1957. Naya Paisi was introduced along with him.
You get it, 2 paisa is 1 paisa, almost, exactly. The 192 is the 100.
2 paise. Normally you should take 2. We all remember. It was all shown to us in our school. Naya Paisi. Everybody was thrilled. Otherwise, we were all having this rupees and as pies. The question was at once answered by Ramdas. No, young brothers, no value can be set upon your bhajan. God is always kind and loving. He never forsakes those who depend upon him. Ram has sent through his humble slave money for your food today. So saying, he dropped into the hands of the sadhus 1 rupee out of the amount he was carrying with him. Poor sadhus simply stared at him in amazement. Their eyes were filled with tears. They exclaimed, "O God, thy ways are wonderful. Pardon, pardon thy unworthy slaves. We doubted thee and thy love. In future grant that we may never blame thee, but bear all suffering patiently in thy name." Sadhus then left the place. Looking into his own lota, Ramdas discovered in it 2 pies. His heart leaped with joy at the sight of these tiny coins, the first proceeds of his bhiksha. Buying 2 plantains, small plantains with the coins, he ate them with all pleasure. At this time, in the same line in which he was sitting, there was another sadhu on the right, while the young sadhus aforementioned were on his left. Now, this sadhu coming forward inquired as to where Ramdas was proceeding. He could not, of course, find a reply to this question. Ram alone could do so. Receiving no reply, the sadhu proposed to take Ramdas with him to Rameshwaram, whither he was going. "O Ram, thy kindness is indeed very great. To guide thy helpless slave, thou hast sent to him this sadhu. Why? He can be taken to be none other than Ram himself." From time to time, Ramdas met Ramdas. Ramdas met sadhus who not only led him on the pilgrimage, but also took every care of him. All these sadhus shall by Ram's will go by one name, Sadhu Ram. What are the points? What had happened that we have enjoyed hearing it? Now, as a sadhaka or a devotee, what are the points that Papa wants to convey between the lines? The first is communion. These are the signs of his direct control. We can say that this is a must. We are thinking about objects and persons and incidents, situations. Why not we think about him? Either he can come through a form or he can be formless. It depends upon how we train our mind. Because fairly now, Papa has equipped us that he is within, he is behind every thought, every word, every action. He is the life force, he is consciousness absolute, he is intelligence absolute. He is the pulsating figure. He is the presiding officer inside. Just watching how all the departments are functioning. All these things he has given now. Now, why not we try for a communion with him? Through any of these methods, either through his life force, when the breathing goes on, we can connect him. When a thought comes, we can connect him. When we smell something, we can connect him. When we hear something, we can connect him. Not throughout, at least some period in a day. So that this is the first lesson probably we can take it from this, from the fourth chapter. Develop communion with him. And then we have been assured that the guidance will come to us through intuition. It should be known only to us. And here again, we know now the norms. How do we know that it is intuition or of our own thoughts? Intuition means it is free of self-interest. It is spontaneous. In the other one, it is based on self-interest. And it is a product of our thought process. So communion, intuition. Then, even the self-naming, just imagine. The self-naming could be something else, but here it is Ramdas. Normally, in the sannyasi, when you say you're a sannyasi, the name will end with Anand. That is the procedure. Sachidananda, Chidananda, Ananda, like the Chinmaya, like that, Muktananda. It all ends with Ananda. But here we find that is a tradition. But here it's a simple linking, Das of Ram. He doesn't follow any system. He follows strictly by what is coming from inside. The other one we are following from outside. What is happening outside, we are following. Here, even the very act of naming comes from him direct. What a beautiful word, Das of Ram. He has explained who is Ram, and now he is Das of Ram. Even if we talk about communion, when we talk about intuition, when we talk about self-naming, again there are so many. Then we should. He was thinking, I am the servant of Ram, so so he was named. Now, let us go back. 8 o'clock, he reached after walking 7 miles from Sri Lanka. Then he had his bath. Then after bath, he went and sat with them. So he never bothered about breakfast, morning coffee, nothing in between. Immersing himself totally, in God thought through that bhajan. Just we just read and go. Just imagine how many hours. Previous day he had taken the food at that lady's house, curd rice. And afterwards, till 12 o'clock, no thought about it. And then he attends the bhajan, enjoys the bhajan. Immediately God puts him on a test. So far he was communing with God, Service of Ram also should be expressed, He has taken a brother a few hours back that this life will be consecrated to meditation and service of Sri Ram. And immediately Ram provides him an opportunity now. And then he presses the button. Immediately he gives him. He says devotion is priceless. So wonderful. No matter what so it should not be based on any expectation. Devotion for devotion's sake. When it is done, probably when the hunger is pinching, even in an ardent devotees, the body idea may put keep in. It's not a crime. It doesn't mean that they are not genuine devotees. They are genuine devotees. But at times, rarely such things do happen. Immediately God intervenes and then put through Ramdas, service of Ram, to offer him 1 rupee. 1 rupee is a big amount at that time. We used to remember just for forming some opinion. In 61, when we joined the meals, it costed 50 paise. That means we used to pay 15 rupees for 30 tickets. 30 meals tickets. It is in 61. We are in 1923. Just imagine. When idli was costing 7 paise. Yeah. Just imagine. Then you go back another 20, 40 years back. So what should be the value of rupee then? 1 rupee is a big amount. Very big amount. And compared to these people, that is what God prompts him to give. Just imagine. So not only meditation of Ram, service of Sri Ram. And the wording is so beautiful, touching. What does he say? No, young brothers, no value can be set upon your bhajan. God is always kind and loving. He never forsakes those who depend on him. Ram has sent through this humble slave money for your food today. So it is an affirmation for Papa also, at the right time. That's why he is in a position to say that. At the right time, everything will be provided. Because at this moment, still some cash is with him. Next day, you will see that, what happens to that. Next day. So it's still with him. Now 12 o'clock, he is looking upon his plate. So he is going strictly according to the vows he has taken a few hours back. That henceforth, body be maintained and fed upon the food procured by Bhiksha or on what was offered at arms, not what was carried by him. So the 2 pies, he says, his heart leaped with joy at the sight of these tiny coins, the first proceeds of his Bhiksha. Buying 2 small plantains with the coins, he ate them with all pleasure. First test, suppose it is with us, suppose we may feel, we have to go to the hotel. Suppose at that time it was 10 paise or 20 paise. Tomorrow we will. We will adjust it from our next week. Our intellect will calculate. So now too, another 8 paisa, we will put it from our own pocket. But no, here he's carrying from the next chapter, we know that he was carrying at that time 9 rupees. 9 rupees he was carrying, but he was still satisfied with the 2 pies. We are thinking, how much God has grounded him, to every word he was made to utter in the form of a vow. Real test, you are having the money and you have not taken any meal right from yesterday night. Every devote, so he has to, and in the case of the two sadhus who were doing bhajan, it was a test God gave. Apparently they failed, but they did not fail because immediately they corrected themselves. What did they pray? They did not pray for money. They only prayed, pardon, pardon thy unworthy slaves. We doubted thee and thy love. In future, grant, we may never blame thee, but bear all suffering patiently in thy name. And then what happened? Again, there is no planning. Every moment God puts him on test. So that is the expression intuitively he gave in the second chapter. Now, from the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram had lifted up his slave to throw him into the extensive ocean of a universal life, but to swim in the wide ocean. Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, this under his direct guidance and support. So we have found now the direct guidance support. Yes, he gives. In spite of being hungry himself, he first served the sadhus by helping them with the money for their food. And trying to expand his love circle by becoming responsive to the situation provided by God. You could immediately, put into practice the words, the vows. The first consecration, bhajan was there, he was a joy, that is communing, meditating on God. And next, service of Sri Ram. You have to connect up everything. So for us, communion somehow paving the way for hearing him intuitively, praying for the observance, for sticking on to whatever vows we take, and then somehow train our mind to rely on. Be responsive, correct? Be responsive to the situation. Spirituality doesn't mean having a rock-like heart, irresponsive, no. It is responsive to the suffering of others. Papa's spiritual approach, he makes it very, very clear right from the beginning. The first introductory remarks itself, he made it very clear. He gives that word, remember, sacrifice. Great sacrifice. Where, you live for others, everything is for others, not in the social sense, but with the feeling that we are serving him, loving him. So the first test he saw, two people doing bhajan, because of hunger, and because of their innocence, they frankly brought it out. If they were hypocrites, they were innocent people, simple people. They were chanting bhajan. After that, till that time, they did not look at it. After that, so many hours of bhajan, when the bhajan was stopped, they looked naturally. God made them to complain a little, prompted Papa to give him. God made them to realize their mistake, and God made them to reassert that hereafter they will not blame you. What do we learn from this? Everyone has to reflect. Even when we rely on him, he will put us into various tests. And even at every point of time, not only he comes to our aid, he makes use of us to go to somebody's aid. Not only God comes to our aid whenever we are in trouble, but in times he also makes use of us to go to somebody's aid. Somebody's need. So he directly tells us whenever any opportunity is given to you, take it that God is giving you. God is giving you the wherewithal, God is giving you the prompting, God has created the field exclusively for you. If the money has not been kept, how can Papa give? If the prompting has not been given, how can Papa give? If those two people did not lament, how can Papa give? See, just imagine. So the inner prompting, the wherewithal, the field, all are his own make. Well, we have to take it in our life. We may fail, we may forget. But the fourth chapter will come and remind us.
In that food by himself, he was contented.
Contented. Yes, you are right. Relying on God means contentment. And total detachment to the possessions he was having. It is not an ordinary one. The more we think about it, 9 rupees. We couldn't, if any of you can try, normally these Google Babas gives everything, Because when we tried in 1920, when Papa first saw Mahatmaji in Mangalore, we did not know that, Papa had written in an article. From there we got it. Then we went to Google. So in Google, Baba said in 1920 there was a meeting in Police Maidan where about 10,000 people had assembled. The then report calculated where Gandhiji had. So similarly, today we tried. The internet was not working. We wanted to know the train charge of from Mangalore to Erode in 1923. So that we can put 2 and 2 together, 25 rupees, we can immediately calculate. Because when we left for Madras in 61, it was 14.5 rupees from Calicut to
30 rupees from Colombo to
Chennai.
Chennai.
30.
I have traveled.
So 13 rupees, that is in 50s, 60s, Now, what should be 10 rupees. We hope it should be 10 rupees. So then,
much less. Much less.
Might be.
Maybe in India.
So then he
60 very 20.
Eh?
40 different,
So we were trying to find out if somebody can find out. Google Baba may supply also. What should be the charges? Yeah.
63 1 hour was 110 rupees.
Not now. Later.
1 hour. 110 rupees 1 hour gold. Whereas in 1920 it was only 10 rupees or 11 rupees.
10 times. Anyway, still it should be costly. In church it will be costly because somewhere we have found 2 rupees, 1 rupee, small station. Then from Trichy, Erode to Trichy also is there. He paid some money to the lady. He has not taken anything. So strict expanse, no plans, and everything left to him. Engage, just imagine. We may not start. The baggage will be there. The hangover will be there. Then we found there is no hangover or baggage because God has trained him and purged him of all these anxieties, all these things. A person who has not gone to this Srirangam, he must have passed through Erode when he was employed in Chennai. He was employed in Chennai. First, he was employed in Chennai. So at that time, Mangalore to Chennai, he would have gone. But no mention about Srirangam. No mention about any of these things. So then, just imagine a person who had led such a life, where planning was there, where expectation was there, so many things. That is what we call it as baggage. And such a person lands at night in Erode, and where to do, no idea.
Sorry, you were working in the Coimbatore also.
Later on. From there, Koiron, and from Koiron to Gulbarga to Nadiad, so many places. So so that means he has traveled a lot. Anxieties will be there, expectation will be there. So many things. Precaution will be there. He will be doing planning will be there. But here we find totally all these things are cut off. He's not an innocent child. We have to visualize to what extent God has helped him to wipe out all this. So in our communion with him, we should keep on asking this. Make me to remember our association with everybody, no doubt. The noble people, the gratitude, everything. Remove from our mind anything about this planning, anything about negative tendencies, anything about me and mine. So there's so many things. So communion with him, intuition, self-naming, all unconventional. That means fully relying on him and him only. No thought except God. God remembrance. And after that, he goes to the bhajan, sits there, getting immersed in the bhajan, immediately taking the vows, and then strictly following from that moment onwards. thrills of the new deliverance, he says, And a test, it is there. Test for him, test for the sadhus. He immediately responds to the intuitive guidance. With the result, the sadhus also, they get to know. They feel so bad for having made such a comment, for blaming. Then he looks at his lota with the 2 paise, enjoys contentment, joyful. And then next plan, he has no idea. Then somebody comes and says, I will take you, I am going to Rameshwaram. I will take you up to Rameshwaram. So the first itinerant, the first experience itself is full of teachings for us. More we dive deep, probably we may be able to identify more. 2 things we have to make. We are traveling with Papa. We are traveling with Papa, the sadhaka. We are traveling with God. Whenever, as a narrative, we are traveling with Papa, the sadhaka. But for a devotee or a spiritual aspirant, we should know we are traveling with him. How he is making, he is teaching us, the moment you hand yourself over to me, this is the way I function. So whenever you hand over everything, I will function it to you in this way, where you are freed from planning, you are freed from anxiety, you are freed from discontentment, you become responsive to the demands and suffering of my co-creation. You always rely on me only, not on any external conditions. Now, this is the outcome. Let us all be very, very clear about it. We are traveling with, outwardly we are traveling with Papa, the spiritual aspirant, but inwardly we are traveling with him, who is teaching us through Papa's life, that what all he will make us to do, how he will put us on test, how he takes us into his fold, how he responds to all our needs without our telling. If this is very clear, our whole journey will become joyous. We repeat again. Apparently, we are traveling with Papa, the spiritual aspirant. But we are traveling with God. He is teaching us wise tuitions through. Let us try to have this mindset when we go through the next chapter. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama Om. Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Jai Ram. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. We started that faith in God. How can we relate everything, giving away the rupee with an householder life? What is the less? What is this? Tomorrow, you to please take it, print out and give me.
Yes, sir.
Teaching as in Vaikari truths, we are not understanding. When we hear the message in Para and Pashanti, pray Papa to make us listen to his messages. Give me.
Yes.
I mean Vaikari Rupa.
But maybe only the fact of you and higher mess morning as well as evening. I take it.